Hello and welcome to the second episode of Tech Mechanic. My name is Josh and today I'm going to be showing you how to put the RetroPie operating system onto your Raspberry Pi. The first steps are you're going to want to download RetroPie OS. Just go ahead and Google RetroPie. It'll bring you to this page. You're going to want to click download. As you can see, I have already downloaded that sitting right here. The next thing you're going to do is download a program called 7-Zip. This is completely free also. I'm running Windows 10, which is 64-bit. You want to hit download here, which you can see down here I have already done. You're also going to want to get a Windows 32 disk imager. I found mine on SourceForge. You can find these all over. But just click here. After some prompting, you'll eventually get to it. The next thing I'm going to do is download an SD card formatter. I got mine from sdcard.org, again free of charge. Alright, we're about to get into the nitty gritty of this thing. So now here we go. So what you're going to want to do is find your SD card, okay, and you are going to want to format this. As you can see, I have 28.9 gigs out of a possible 32, which is completely fine. That's pretty normal. You want that to be to a FAT32 file system. And click on quick format. I'm going to go ahead and format that. Show you what that looks like. Alright, format's complete. Now, let's say you just did what I did, but your SD card, say it's a 32 gig, is only showing like 50 megabytes or much lower than this 28.9. Here's what you can do. Click option, click format full erase, size adjustment on, and hit OK, then format it. This is going to take a while. Last time I did this to a card, it took about 20 minutes to 30 minutes. So just have something to do in your time. So anyway, we're not worried about that. Let's just go ahead and get this operating system onto our SD card. So you're going to open up your disk manager, click this little file icon. All right. You're going to go to desktop, RetroPie, operating system, and D is my SD card. If you're not sure which one is which, just unplug your USB thumb drive during this process and that'll narrow it down for you. And you're going to hit write. This is going to take a few minutes, so no big deal. So we're going to move on while that's writing. The next thing you want to do is go to your USB stick. Mine's called Retro Game. And you're going to create a new folder. You do this by right-clicking your mouse. Go to new folder, click that, you're going to pop up with this. Oh, let me back up a little bit. And you need to rename that. What you want to name this is RetroPie. All lowercase, no spaces, just like this. And here I'm going to explain why. So, when it comes time for you to actually hook up all your peripherals to your RetroPie console, you're going to have your game controller, your USB keyboard, you're going to have the SD card already inserted, and your thumb drive. What the RetroPie OS is going to do is create files in here so that you have a place to drag and drop the games that you download. And what you're going to do is you're going to put them in the corresponding folder. That's pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. You'll see some in there like SNES, that's Super Nintendo, NES, that's normal Nintendo. I can do a video on that if you guys request it. However, that is the simplest part of that. However, later on in the video, I will show you and give you some hints as to where you can find some of these ROMs or retro games where you can download them. But now we're going to move on. Alright guys, we are back. We have successfully mounted the RetroPie image onto the SD card. Alright, so the next thing you want to make sure you do is you want to plug in an empty USB or a thumb drive, your keyboard, and whatever controller you're going to be using with. Plug in your HDMI. Leave your power cord disconnected. Mine's actually disconnected from the wall. And then you're going to want to put your SD card that you just mounted that image with, right there. Sorry if this is a little blurry. Alright, and what you're going to do is you're going to turn on your RetroPie, plug it into the wall, should power up, and you are going to get this screen right here. Alright? So basically this is just the RetroPie OS. It's going to boot up. It's probably going to take a few minutes, but hopefully not too long. Alright, here we go. Now the reason you want your keyboard and your controller hooked up before you actually turn this thing on is it's going to recognize them. However, you are going to have to program whatever controller you're using to work with the RetroPie OS. Basically, it's real simple. We're going to go through that. It's going to tell you, you need to push. You're going to assign buttons, but I mean, it's seriously the easiest thing. So we'll pause here. We'll let this boot up, and then we'll be right back. Alright guys, we're back. RetroPie has successfully loaded. One thing to note is that when you plug in your USB stick right here, when you first turn it on, if yours has a light, it will be blinking. You want to wait for that to stop blinking, because what the OS operating system is doing is it's putting files on your USB stick, okay? The reason it's doing that is because when it comes time for you to take this out, plug it back in your computer and put all of the ROMs from the games that you want, there are going to be little folders for each one. So like Super Nintendo, the Sega Master System, they'll already be on here. Okay, so here we are. We're at the welcome screen. It doesn't know what I'm using right now, but so you see I have the Xbox One S gamepad. So all you're going to do here is for D-pad up, scroll down here slowly. Alright, you're going to go up, down, left, right. The next question is, it asks you if you have the start button. So I'm going to go with the retro setup, kind of like how it was on the Nintendo. The right button was the start, and the left button was the select button, okay? Alright, so then it's going to ask you is hit A, B, X, and Y on your Xbox controller, your left shoulder or left bumper, right shoulder, the actual left trigger, right trigger, and then it asks you left thumb. What they're talking about is you want to push directly down on the left thumbstick, and then the next one is to push directly down on the right thumbstick. Okay, so that brings you to your left analog up. That is actually what we would call, I guess, your joystick. So you're just going to go up, down, left, right, switch over to the right one. You're going to go up, down, left, right, and then you're just going to hit OK. That is it. That should bring you back to the RetroPie, and as you can see, there are 13 games that come pre-installed on the system. Okay? So now, we're going to pause the video, and I'm going to show you how to actually put games onto the USB drive. Alright, here's where the magic begins. So, you want to know how to get games. There's a problem with that. So, it is highly illegal to own the ROMs for games that you don't physically own. However, I will give you a hint. If you just simply type in game ROMs into Google, you are going to get a list of websites that host all these ROMs for free. So all you're going to have to do is find whatever ROMs you want, create a folder on your desktop, and then download them to that location. Once they are in there, you will right-click on them. We'll say this is a ROM. We'll throw it in here. We'll just pretend it is. You will right-click it. You will see that there's a 7-zip, and you will say extract to here. Now, once you do that, a whole other file is going to pop up, and then what you want to do is you're going to want to drag that to this corresponding emulator in here. So let's say you downloaded a Super Nintendo game. You will want to scroll down, find SNES, drag it from here, and copy it. Okay? That's all you gotta do. Well, obviously what I'm doing, you don't need to do that. There's no point in having the RetroPie OS in the SNES folder, so I'm just gonna delete that. But that is it. And then all you're gonna do is take your thumb drive, when you're done putting your games on it, stick it back in your RetroPie, and you will see what happens. Alright, we're back. So I have placed the thumb drive with the ROMs back into the RetroPie. It might take a few minutes. What it's going to do is it's going to move those ROMs over to your SD card for safekeeping. Oh, let's see if we get this to... There we go. Alright, now as you can see, now you have Sega Mega Drive or the Genesis. You'll have Super Nintendo. You can always click on the actual RetroPie itself. This just kind of helps you out, so has a bunch of different things. I do recommend going to Wi-Fi and updating your Pi as soon as you get it. That's always a good option. It's actually really simple, but you will need your keyboard to enter your Wi-Fi password. But the rest of this stuff I can do videos on if you guys want more. But for now, we're just going to focus on the games. Okay, so here we go. You got a PlayStation game, okay? Here's the thing. You want to get the box art for this, right? Because that's what looks cool. It's a thing. The thing you're going to use to do this is called a scraper. You can use the archive or the GamesDB. You can select all games or those only missing an image, and then you can decide if you want to use a conflict. I found that sometimes when you download these games, the name's not quite right or there's special characters. Well, this program does not recognize special characters, so you might have to go back in and edit a few of these, but then all you're doing is hit start. Alright. Alright, so you can see here there's a few of these. It doesn't understand because there's special characters being used in those top two. So no games are scraped. So I'll show you what it looks like when you successfully scrape. So now you see here's the games, and then right next to it is the original box art as well as a description of what the game is about. Alright, well, thank you guys for tuning in to the second episode of Tech Mechanic. And again, thanks for watching. If you can do me a favor and subscribe, or just at least hit the like button. Alright, thank you. Goodbye.